Hello and welcome back to the Great Tribal Warriors of Bharat monthly series. In this July episode, we are going to focus on how the Anglo-Khasi War that broke out in 1829 came to an end in 1833 and the July calendar of events for the Santhal Hul that broke out on 30th June 1855. Here we go. In the January of 1833, on the 13th of January to be precise, Tirot Sing, the king of the Khasis, had decided to seek out an armistice with the East India Company. And accordingly, on this appointed date of 13 January, Lieutenant Inglis, representing the company side, was supposed to come for a meeting with the syiem. Syiem is the Khasi word for king. And Tirot Sing was ready with his retinue, and as per the Khasi tradition, both sides were supposed to meet at a point, and a ritual very typical and unique to the Khasi tradition was to be carried out, which is holding the sword and licking the salt off the edge kept on of the sword. Now, this was a Khasi tradition which Lieutenant Inglis decided to oversee or forego intentionally or not, we do not know, because he has claimed that when he saw Tirot Sing approaching, he regarded it as a sign of surrender, and as per war rules protocol, when somebody approaches for surrender, you take them as a prisoner of war. Now, this has been a point of contention because the East India Company has always maintained that Tirot Sing had come to surrender. Whereas on the Khasi side, the Indian side, our understanding is that he was just going in for a discussion. So to us, it amounts to a betrayal. And this is a betrayal that started right from the moment David Scott, the political agent of Assam, had signed a treaty with Tirot Sing for getting his help on building a road through the Khasi kingdom, Nongklo, that was expected to be beneficial for the British for their commercial interests. But in the event, as we have seen through this book and through previous videos, Scott was actually trying to annex the Khasi kingdom, and from there on lay the foundation for annexation of the rest of the tribal kingdoms. Now, after being captured through deceit on the 13th of January 1833, Tirot Sing was tried at the Guwahati High Court, where he was sentenced to life imprisonment, and he was to carry this out in present-day Dhaka, Bangladesh. He was taken in as a political prisoner, which entitled him to a house, 2 servants, and a monthly allowance of 63 rupees. During confinement, the king was not keeping good health. Quite possibly and very reliably, all the strain of the wars, the intense wars, fighting, the mental and physical exhaustion had started surfacing during his captivity, and he fell ill. His health deteriorated day by day, and finally, on the 17th of July 1835 at around 1 p.m., he passed away. The Santhal Hul that started off on the 30th of June 1855 actually got on to a flying start, as we would like to call it today in our modern day lingo, and it had, of course, definitely it had a great momentum. And what do you expect? There were 10,000 minimum, 10,000 Santhals who had arrived to carry out the warning which they had issued to the company administrators that if the grievances were not addressed by the 30th of June, they would be turning into a revoltous crowd. And they kept their word. And so it happened that in the first week, there was a lot of intense fighting, but the company administrators were just viewing it as some kind of a disturbance. So they sent out Daroga Mahesh Lal Datta to subdue this. Now, this Daroga has some kind of a background. He had previously killed Bir Singh, who was one of the contemporaries of the Murmu brothers. They were friends, they were farmers, they were officials, and Bir Singh was killed by Mahesh Lal Datta, and Sidhu, the eldest of the Murmu brothers, avenged that death by killing Mahesh Lal Datta. So that's how 7th of July is an important point in the Santhal Hul calendar, and from here they continued. The momentum just kept getting higher and heavier and intenser, And they, under the leadership of Chand and Bharat, the Santhals moved towards Murshidabad. And here they attacked all the railway bungalows and all kinds of constructions that had until then been carried out. Now here the point of contention was that a lot of Santhals had been recruited as coolies and for carrying out all menial labor. And also the English officers were not treating the Santhal women with dignity and respect. So there was a lot of anger amongst the Santhals on this regard, and so they attacked. Now in this process they also ended up killing a few Englishmen and women who were civilians, and Siddo, when he came to know about it, strongly rebuked and admonished the Santhals for this, because he said war also has its own code of conduct, and as per that, and especially in the case of Santhal Hul, which has been divinely ordained, they need to leave out or spare the lives of those who have not exploited the Santhals, which means in simple terms the innocents are not to be dragged into the war. And this says a lot about the kind of ethics the Santhal community has, be it in war or peacetime. Now the attack on Murshidabad had happened exactly a week after Mahesh Lal Datta, the Daroga, had been killed. So which means for a fortnight the whole progressed without facing any resistance. And the reason for this was because the company really did not expect that the peace-loving Santhals are going to turn restive. But they were soon surprised when they saw that this was more like a stage set for a protracted rebellion. What were they going to do? It was already a little too late, but still, they sent out word for help. And so, on the 15th of July, the magistrate of Murshidabad issued orders for the 7th Native Infantry, led by Major Charles Shuckburgh, to start for the Damineko from Berhampur. Now they were on their way towards the Damineko when halfway through they were met with Siddo and Kanu, and a major fight erupted in which 200 Santhals were killed. And also in the process, Major Charles Shuckburgh was able to conquer Burhait, but he did so by burning down the entire village of Bhognadi. Simultaneously, the Commissioner of Bhagalpur also dispatched a body of hill rangers under the command of Major F.W. Burrows. This force was met by a troop of Santhals led by Chand and Bhairav at Pir Panti on the 16th of July. A major fight broke out as obvious, but this time the Santhals won. It was such an astounding victory that it stunned the Commissioner of Bhagalpur, and on the 25th of July he imposed martial law. When word about this imposition of martial law reached Fort William, the headquarters at Calcutta, on the 13th of July, they retracted this imposition, deeming it as illegal. Well, certainly the whole got off to a great start, and it was able to maintain that momentum for the whole of July. What happened next, especially in the month of August, and how was it able to influence the perspectives held by the East India Company administrators? To know more, you will have to view the future episodes of this series, The Great Travel Warriors of Bharat. And for that, go ahead, hit on that subscribe button so that when the episode comes live, you don't miss it. I'll see you soon. Till then, take care.